Okay, welcome to Dan's Model Works, and today we're going to be taking a look at Revell's PT-109 PT boat in 1/72nd scale. As it says here in the corner, commanded by John F. Kennedy. A lot of people will be aware that President Kennedy, when he served in the Second World War, commanded a PT boat, and it was quite famously sliced in two by a Japanese destroyer. The box art's quite nice, and it is in Revell's current style of boxing. And this causes me a little bit of concern. I don't have a problem with the contents of the kit, and I'm not concerned about that this box is a little beat up, but because people who are new to the hobby, let's say they've put together one or two kits, might be a little bit disappointed as what's in here. Because when we look at the box, this is Revell's current boxing. This is their current style of boxing. And people might figure that this is a kit the tooling was made within the last, 5 to 10 years. And when you get inside the box, you'll see that no, that's not the case at all. So we'll take a look at the box. It's a skill level 2 kit, and it's got some paint suggestions here, as well as some nice pictures on the side here. We'll flip it around. It has a piece count of 83, and it does have some decals in it. And here's another picture from the side of the box. And now we'll get inside the kit and I'll show you what there is. Alright, when we open up the box, we can see this is not Revell's standard set of instructions. Instructions like these haven't been seen in many, many years. Now, there is an awful lot of information on here. This is the most you're going to find on any kit being released today. It does have a nice picture of the Mosquito boats. And if we open these up, you can see that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. The instructions should be easy to follow, though. I don't see anything that would be too difficult. And each step has a little interesting fact blurb off to the side here. So the instructions, I don't see them giving anyone too many problems. But like I said, it's not what you're expecting to see when you open it up. And if we look on here, it says copyright 2004. All that means is these instructions were reprinted in 2004. This instruction sheet goes back way farther than that. Now let's look at the contents of the kit. Everything is in one bag. Now I've already had this out earlier, so the bag is already open. Here we have the hull. Now there is no surface detail on the underside of the hull. It's basically smooth. Now you can argue that this is correct or not correct if you want. The hulls were made out of plywood, and it had laminations and finishes on them to make it fairly smooth, but these boats did get fairly beat up. Now on one of these parts, and we'll get to it in a moment, it has the date that the tooling for this was cut. And this very, very sad, jagged piece of plastic was connected to the hull. So that should give you some idea of how old this kit is. Before we move on to the rest of the parts, there is a small decal sheet. It's nicely printed. There's nothing wrong with that. It would have been nice if they maybe had given you a choice of other hull numbers. Getting onto the parts, we have the upper deck. The upper deck does have some very, very nice planking detail on it. And there's not a whole lot of flash on these parts. And this is what I wanted to bring up. On here it has the original copyright and tooling date on it. Probably won't be picked up by the camera, but it says 1963. So this kit is quite a bit older than I am. Quite a bit older probably than most of the viewers are. But you know what? For all that, this is a quite nice piece of molding. Now we'll move on to the other sprues. Have to be careful that we don't lose any parts. There's 2-part sprues. This one contains parts of the stand and some of the crewmen, as well as the railings for the machine guns. And I believe this is a 50 cal machine gun here. And the other sprue has the torpedo tubes on it. Now they're split in two, so you'll need to do a little bit of work to clean that up. All in all, though, there's a lot of detail on these parts. If you do some very careful painting, you can make this into a really wonderful model. These, by the way, are the smoke dischargers. They go onto the tail. Here are the propellers. So, all in all, it is still a good kit. My only concern is that some people will open up the box thinking that they're going to find a much more modern tooling than this, and they're going to be disappointed. I think if you take your time at it, clean up the parts, and really there's not a whole lot of flash on these parts, despite the age of the molds. This can be made into a very, very detailed model. And just as a personal historical note, this is the second time I've owned this model. I got this model when I was a kid, and I never did get around to building it. I think I lost half the parts, and I think I played with it in the bathtub. So eventually I will build this properly, and I'm looking forward to it. And just in case you were wondering how big a PT boat is, here for comparison is a Royal Canadian Navy Corvette. It's alongside it. They're in the same scale. And from the Pacific Theater, we have one of the alligators used by the Marine Corps. So you can see how big the PT boat was. Not very big at all. So all in all, I do recommend this kit to somebody who has 2 or 3 kits under their belt. Like I said, my only misgiving is given how many times that model companies have released kits in heritage boxing, this is one that I think probably should be released in a heritage boxing, just so that people know that it's not a new tooling, so that they're aware that, oh, okay, this might not be state-of-the-art model making technology. Other than that, I think you can build this into a fantastic model. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching Dan's Model Works.